This is The Fort Builders, the podcast where we explore the moments, memories, and meaning that made someone who they are, and discover what we might build in our own lives because of it. I'm your host, Lance Johnson. Welcome to The Fort. Let's begin.
And I did that for 9 years, traveled around and played ladies professional racquetball and did speaking engagements
Wow.
and it was a lot of fun. And it's just weird too.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I'm sitting there thinking, part of that story was, like you said, would any of that happened if you would have went the soccer route, which is, you don't know, right? You have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But that was a big, well, I don't know if it's a pivotal event, but a point where I can still hear, you still talk about it and go, gosh, if not for.
Yeah. And I never loved racquetball like I love soccer, but I became really good at racquetball. But what I will also say is, so the reason I stayed in sports, or the reason that I continued to play for myself, was that there were some hard things that happened. And although I kind of joke about the drinking, there were some things in my life that I knew that if I wanted to train and play professional athletics, that I wouldn't drink.
Mm.
And the drinking had become a bit of a problem for me. Do I want to say I was an alcoholic? Well, I was definitely using it to numb out of pain in my life.
Yeah.
Was I dependent upon it? Well, I don't know. You can split hairs. But what I knew is it was causing harm in my life, and I was willing. Achievement in my athletics was important enough that I was willing to stop that in order to become a better athlete. And so I started, that's the real, one of the bigger reasons I stayed in racquetball.
Wow. That's powerful. I was thinking back when you said the coach or the leader that you ended up training with came to you and said, have you thought about continuing to do this? And you had not even really thought about goals with racquetball. And then you said doing it for the next 9 years.
9 years. And
how, and at a level that sounds, I'm hearing a lot bigger than what you were on. Drive and dedication, and like flying from Alaska to New York. Why? Aside from, there's other ways to quit drinking, right? Or stay away. But sure. I'm not trying to be flippant or belittle, but there's more to that. What? Yeah.
I think, and I'd have to unpack it some, and I'll try a little bit. It's like you and I were walking in the library, and I told you that my brother sent me a training montage, right? And I think in that video, it's got it's got Rocky, it's got Karate Kid, it's got Rudy, it's got, it's like the good stuff from when we were growing up.
By the way, I want that. Can you forward me that montage?
I will.
Yeah,
and it's like the music behind it and the statements behind it. It just for me, it's like I can just feel it. It's like, I want to go and do the thing, whatever the thing is. And there was so much I don't know, it's where I felt like myself.
Yeah.
And I could, I talk achievement about being insecure and had to achieve, but there was a lot of dedication in there and willingness to do hard things, and a lot of stuff that came out of it. And I just continued to do the next step, because in that I also started doing a lot of coaching with juniors, and much like the coaching that I do now, coaching juniors or coaching the KU team or coaching, helping, I had a parent come to me and say, hey, would you come and live with us so that he has the potential to make the junior US team? And I was yeah, I will come and do that. And so I lived with them, and there was a couple other juniors in the area too. And actually, that kid's doubles partner, he changed, and I think that's one of the reasons that I feel so passionate about what coaches are in a kid's life. Because I had one kiddo, and that was the family that I lived with, and he was well disciplined. He would listen to me. He was an achiever. He didn't question me. He was solid. He reminded me of me.
Mm.
Well, he comes with a doubles partner, and the doubles partner was, 14-year-old kid, 6 foot tall, wearing, it's like when back in the day where people would cut off the sleeves of their t-shirt and then wear it on their head and as their bandana. And
Yeah.
like the kid was goofy and told jokes, kind of the class clown. And I'm like, "Oh, you mean I gotta train him too? You gotta be it's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, I will do that."
Mm.
But what came out of that kid, when I talk about somebody wanting to just be seen, he had successful parents that weren't around a lot, and so they didn't come and watch him play, and although he had, like, good parents, he really just wanted somebody to pay attention to him.
Mm.
And what I found when we were at the Olympic Training Center, he's 14 years old, over 6 foot tall, and he's always getting injured. And the coaches are on him, like they are on him and being like, just yelling at him, berating him, like,
Yeah.
just, and you could see when they were like that with him, he would just crumble. And we got back from a long run one day and I walked up next to him and I'm like, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, "Hey, has anybody, like, how much have you grown in the last year?" He's like, "Oh, probably about a foot." He's
Oh.
like, "Has anybody talked to you about stretching?" And he's like, "No." It's like, well, and I asked him about some other conversations that he's had, but I took an interest in him. Like all of a sudden, there's thing just of me.
Mm.
I took an interest in like, what's going, like, let me just talk to you. I just want human to human. I just want to talk to you. And at the time, I didn't even know, like, I know the psychology behind things now, but at the time is like, oh, this kid he just needs somebody to be nice to him,
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, like this kid trusted me. And this kid went on to win a number of like adult a level elite players by that fall. And I just showed up. Like, this kid just needs somebody to show up for him. And I
Wow.
just showed up and he just skyrocketed. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so when that reminds me, I end up going and writing. I was hired, and I don't even remember the association, by a company to write a handbook, and it was building assets in youth through sports.
Okay.
And in that manual, there's things that for coaches to like, hey, to care about an athlete beyond the court, beyond the field. And I think drawing off of what happened with the kid at the US Training Center was just like, oh, me just even taking an interest in him, how that skyrocketed versus some other coaches who, you know, contempt or,
Yeah.
cold shouldering him or, punishing him by having to do more w- was just creating more of the same with him,
Yeah.
and so it's just like that really started speaking to me. And I think it also spoke to me in a way where it's like, oh, there's some things that I've been needing. But then, going back to what you're talking about, I went from both playing professionally and then coaching juniors. And I love coaching because much like what I talk about today, I get to see somebody else succeed.
Yeah. I'm hearing it.
And
Yep.
that's so much fun
Yep.
to watch somebody else light up.
Well, two things that stand out to me. I mean, yes, and I'm thinking back and you're connecting some dots. Most inspirational player on your team. There's coaching in that, right? There's seeing your teammates and
Mhm.
being there for them, and then um, wanting to do right going forward for others that your soccer coach did not, let's call it, do right by you, maybe in a way.
Absolutely.
And you've been you've carried that kind of that moment on of doing it different.
Doing it different.
Doing it different. Yeah.
It's like, thanks for bringing that up, Lance. You're doing your own little therapy session.
No, no. I'm sure I'm not saying anything that you haven't thought of, but anyway, that's pretty cool. But the other was, I'd asked you why, and it's, to me, it's becoming kind of clear, but going from playing in college to then getting the opportunity to take it to another level and then staying with it for 9 years. You didn't know at the time. I mean, this is a challenge, what's in front of you. Hey, I get to go try a new thing and, compete and whatever, but to stay with it for 9 years and to keep you there. You've brought more of that. I can see that, the joy in the coaching and what keeps you for 9 years on that path of, in that world.
Yeah. So much of the so much of the time is just do the next thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like do the next thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, hey, I continued on that path and do the next thing. I will tell you, there's a small break in there, and to me, this is kind of a funny story. So there's a small break in there where I give up racquetball, and it was the year before I get married.
Okay.
Right. And so
here we go back to, it's funny. Anyway, funny how all stories lead back to a girl or a boy. It's like it's hilarious.
Right.
So starting to learn that in people's stories.
Right? Something
I'm doing something and then I met a girl and then I met a boy. Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, life circumstance. Like something happens, right? Something happens and the trajectory changes.
That's like people ask me what's my son gonna do or that after school, and I'm like, well, I think this is his path. But if he meets, I don't know. Throw it up in the air. I have no idea. So
it's like we think we're going this way, and it could go that way, and it's like and so
that's funny.
So the year before I get married, I decide like I need to focus on my relationship, and I needed to like take that seriously, not travel as much. But then my husband and I moved from Alaska to Kansas. And at the time,
it sounds random.
Well, we'll get to that story later, right? We moved from Alaska to Kansas, and at the time, it was kind of like, I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing. There's some things that I was doing part-time, but I still had the ability to, like, I was more in proximity of some tournaments and stuff. So I go and I enter my first tournament back. My last name's different.
Oh,
the poor girl's face, right? She thought she was playing some newbie,
Yeah.
I walk on the court and her face just drops. Like I feel kind of bad now, but it was one of those things where it was kind of like, it was just a funny moment because she was expecting a newbie and I step on the court and she'd never beaten me and she didn't beat me that day either. But the poor look on her face when she was like, oh, it's not a newbie. Oh, she just came back. Okay. Her last name changed. Okay.
That's funny.
So that was a fun experience, but
and
I played for a little bit, and the reason I stopped playing, and it stopped abruptly, I had just won adult regionals. I was just a couple weeks out from U.S. team tryouts, and I got sick, and I didn't know why I was sick. And when you're sick, you stay home and you get rest. What I didn't know is there was a black mold issue in our apartment, and I got sicker. And I went from being I went from being a professional athlete to not being able to lift 10 pounds. And got and so for me, an achievement is how I felt valuable and loved. To now being super sick and not being able to lift anything and not knowing what I'm sick from and going through tests and nobody being able to give me answers.
Oh gosh.
Things became
even worse.
Things became scary, and I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to get better or not. And so it came to an abrupt halt.
That just stopped it.
It just stopped. Yeah, it stopped everything. And at the time, and then I had to learn
Whoa.
later that I needed to grieve the loss of that.
Mm.
But at the time, so much of the time when life is happening, you don't stop to grieve different things because you're in the midst of survival.
Yep.
Like
You're surviving.
I'm in the midst of survival,
Yeah.
in the midst of trying to seek out help, the midst of like, am I, what's happening with me? And so it wasn't until I actually started learning this process where it's like that thing that happened, my, my, my thing that brought me so much joy, it ended so abruptly.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, it's like yeah. Well, I can, I mean, through my own personal, story and things, but I mean, it's like a death. I mean, it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah. And it created, because I didn't have words like I'm really scared I'll never be
Right.
well again. I didn't have words like, I'm lonely, you know, um,
Mm.
nor did my husband. And so my husband and I, this is towards the beginning of our marriage. In our first year, things begin to implode because he wants to make me well, but doesn't have the power to make me well. So he's beginning to feel like a failure as a
Mm.
husband. And I'm scared to death, but don't have words for it.
Yeah. And is it fair to say that's who you were? I mean, that's what you were doing. You were in the middle of, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's your identity. I
At
mean,
the,
that's your world. That's what you're doing. Then you just bam.
then bam, it just ends. It
Then
ends.
who is Stephanie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Mm.
am I going to survive was the first
Well,
step. And then
right. You're just going down, down. Yeah. And what
and
is it? Yeah.
yeah. And then after that,
Mm.
it's kind of like, you just kind of, you start, y- at the time, it was just, you like, grow up in the world, like you just take care of problems. And so you just push through. And so you just push through. And then at some point in time, you got to deal with the stuff. You got to deal with what's happened. Otherwise, it's just going to come out in other ways.
How long did it take you to deal with it?
To deal with it, it's kind of funny.
And have you ever got it? Well, I don't know.
It's one of those things that's funny, Lance, where it's kind of like, well, Lance, actually, about the time my
Like a week? No, I'm just kidding.
right? About a week, Lance, after I got it all figured out. There's
Work through it. Yeah. Get to where you find yourself again.
So
Yeah.
So if we're continuing on in the story, right, we're just trying to get better, and no doctors are giving me really great answers. And so I end up back up in Alaska and start seeing some of my old docs there, and started doing some things um to they basically said your body's had a toxic reaction to something. We don't know what. We can try to detox some things in your body. And then they were doing things kind of like what you hear, Lance Armstrong did, where they take your blood out of your body, they super oxygenate it, they put it back in your system, to try and get everything that's out of it. Well, yes, I started getting better. And yes, I got home. There's so much more story in there of what ends up happening, because we moved from our apartment, and we during that period of time, so when I come home, and I also where I was like, hey, Lance, this might take some time, you might want to edit some of this out, but you do what you want with it. I come home, and so we didn't know still what was wrong with me. My body's had a toxic reaction to something, we don't know what. I come home
Same place that
for
was
the same
causing it.
same
Yeah.
place,
Mm.
and within a very short time, I'm sick again. A very short time, meaning my husband woke up in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping out in the truck because I can't be in the apartment.
Ooh.
And so now we know that it's the apartment, and we end up having some mold testing and everything else. Yes, it's Stachybotrys. Yes, and all of that stuff. And so, but we were told that if we, put our furniture and everything in ozone chambers, that it would clean everything. Okay, so it goes. So we have, and we're still talking early on in our marriage, right? So all of our finances are going towards medical bills, towards that. So we send all of our stuff to an ozone chamber to be, and we're told, and during this period of time, we don't have a place to live now. So now we move in with some people that we've only known for 6 weeks from church. And, because when we got home and I knew that I couldn't be there, we had been attending a church. And I went into the church and I said, like, I just need a place to sit down and go through some paperwork and stuff. Like, I just need a place to clear my head. And I told them what was happening. And still my church today, still Connect Church today. And they said, yes, you can sit down and go through whatever you need. They sent an email out to the church and the people that we'd been in small group, or who offered to us to come and live with them. And so we went and we lived with them, and at the time trying to buy a house. And it gets, it's like, it seems like one thing after another, trying to buy a house. And then during that period of time, I do have a grandma that was living at that time, but she was kind of a little bit, there's so many good stories in there. But that long story short, I felt like we were supposed to go stay with her for a period of time. So we went and stayed with her. We were a little bit estranged from her and my family, but my husband had started developing a relationship with her. And so I felt like we were supposed to go and live with her. The first night that we were there, she has some sort of asthma attack and she goes in the hospital. And she lives for 2 more weeks. And so we're visiting her, and she said, please don't let my house sit empty. So we're living at her house during this period of time. We have bought a house. We've closed on that house. We move our stuff from the ozone chamber into the house. Grandma dies. Stuff has been moved from the ozone chamber into the house. We've been told that everything's going to be safe. We move into that house, and I get sick again.
Oh, gosh.
Because everything that I didn't know about mycotoxins off of mold. I didn't know that's what allergic reaction. So yes, it killed the mold, but guess what I'm allergic to? Everything that we just moved into that house. So now I'm back in the same position. And now we hit, where the real estate market collapses. And so now we're upside down in the new home that we just bought. And so, there's a lot of things that end up happening in there. And part of my husband's and my story is he was a general contractor. He starts feeling like a failure as a husband because he can't provide me a place that I can be well.
Yeah.
And so then that's kind of where his and my story implodes, because he starts seeking affirmation from other places. We start drifting relationally from one another. And that's what eventually sends him to the Center of Professional Excellence in Nashville, Tennessee. And that was run by Chip Dodd, Stephen James, and Phil Herndon. And that's where he goes for 100 days. And that's where they say to me, well, we've got things taken care of with him. Let's talk about you. And my attitude was like, what do we need to talk to me about? Get him taken care of. I'll be okay. And they're like, let's talk about you. And that's where I had this willingness where it's like, I've always been willing. And if you're telling me that this will help, and I do find my marriage a value of saving, let's talk about me. And so I started talking about me. And what the person didn't know, and this was long distance because she was in Nashville, Tennessee, what she didn't know that day, the first day that we had our first appointment, I was laying in bed and I was sick as a dog. But that was how I pretended so much that I was okay when I wasn't, and she didn't know that till years later.
Wow.
But that's when they started beginning with me and would put a feeling sheet on the floor when I'd fly out there, because there was a couple times I flew out there to do couples counseling. They put a sheet on the floor and go, well, what are you feeling? And I'd look at that sheet and be like, I don't know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Voice of the Heart's a book written by Chip Dodd that explains all those feelings and everything.
Yeah.
They told me to read that book. I'm like, I read the book. It's like, it's got no game plan in it. Like, I'm a professional. I'm a past professional athlete. Give me a game plan.
Yeah.
Like, and we will win.
Yeah.
And that book just tells me like how to be present with What?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Name a
Like,
feeling.
do you
Okay.
you tell me how I win my marriage? You tell me you tell me that plan, and we'll win. You give me this and tell me I need to know my feelings. We just took out the largest loan possible for my
Uh-oh.
husband to go to a treatment center, and you're telling me the difference between where he is and any place else is feelings? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what crock did we just send him to? Is literally what I felt. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and it was recommended to us by
Mm.
a dear friend of ours, and literally by the grace of God, we ended up there. If he had not been there, I don't know what the outcome would have
Mm.
been, but like that's where we ended up. And what in turn happens later that year, they have a 3-week women's program. Like my husband had been there for 100 days.
Yeah.
They had a 3-week women's program for
Takes a lot more for guys
for guys
to figure it out. Yeah. Only 3 weeks.
Only 3 weeks for me, right?
21 days.
Yeah.
I get, yeah.
So
yeah. Women.
I go for that
Smarter.
3 weeks, right? And it's like, and I remember, at this point in time, I'm already a life coach.
Yeah.
But the life coaching that I was taught was very external focus. Like life coaching that I was taught was like, you want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, well, let's design a plan. Here's, because I was working with a doc that worked with people with morbid obesity at the time. And here's your plan. Here's what you eat. Here's when we're exercising. Here's the things. What's your obstacles? Very outward focus.
Yeah.
Well, after I started going through this with my husband, and after I spent 3 weeks there, I was sitting next to Chip Dodd, and I said, Chip, if this is what I think it is, I want to do this the rest of my life. Because this is where they start having you look internally to see what's wrong. Because you can only be as successful as when you're taking care of your own insides and paying attention to your body, because everybody has a story. That story informs you. That person that's morbidly obese, that has a food addiction, that's because of their story.
Yeah.
That's not because they don't know calculations of calories and output. Math is very simple.
Right.
And so it's like, let's talk about the story underneath. And that's why I became very passionate about what I do today, is because let's explore your story. And then we can talk about how you bear fruit or how you become successful. Let's go back and look. Let's see what's there, because that's what they did for me. And it's like, okay, let's look at your stuff. And sometimes I give my mom a hard time. But my mom's story is her first 3 years of life was an internment camp. She's Japanese, and she's a Japanese American 3rd generation, so born in the US, and her parents were born in the US. And so they were, during World War II, were all interned for being Japanese. And you want to talk about proving yourself, and you want to talk about being good enough. That's what she was bred into.
Yeah.
You could get out of camp sooner if you moved inland. Moving inland was to Lawrence, Kansas. They were the first Japanese family here in Lawrence, Kansas. And so my mom grew up in an environment that truly said, you show that you're acceptable, you prove yourself, then we'll tell you whether you're worthy or not.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we'll disown, literally a whole nation.
Yeah, it wasn't even feeling value. It was survival.
Yes.
I mean, it was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we joke about my mom proofreads the copy machine, there's a reason that she was perfectionistic. And so in knowing my mom's story, I can be like, now I know why my mom was wanting to make sure that things were done well. She cared a lot, but her care came through making sure that things were done right and things were done well. And it wasn't, you certainly weren't going to be coddled.
Right. Which can be, there's value in the way that, say, she raised you and what she gave you, right?
Yes.
There's times where that doesn't help, but then there's times where that does help. Yes,
it's super valuable. In an internment camp, they had this term called gammon that the Japanese Americans had, and gammon means to endure, the very, very worst with patience and with integrity and with honor. and so like that to me
Mm.
embodies so much of what I live. My Christian foundation, and then come on. And I didn't even know what that meant, but that's how my mom raised,
Mm.
my mom and my
Yeah.
dad. My dad's very integral in this part,
Right.
but
Yeah,
in this part of the story.
right. Yeah,
And
because your dad's not. Um,
n-
it,
no,
yeah.
my dad, his family moved from Michigan to Kansas. My mom and dad met in high school.
Gotcha.
They
Yeah.
met at Lawrence High. Yeah.
That's something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah. I always found it fascinating talking to you that the Lawrence to Alaska and then
back
back.
to
And yeah. Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, everyone, and that's where I began to be passionate and in that whole inspirational part,
Yeah.
passionate about people, because I saw how much knowing my story and the feelings that go with it. So not just data and the feelings that go with it, how that brought me back to life. And I sat next to Chip and I said, Chip, if this is what I think it is, I want to do this the rest of my life. There was no training at that time for lay people like me.
Yeah.
And so I continued once a year to go back because they would have like what they would call reunion. And I literally would push record and record what they said because there was nobody around here,
Huh.
that was helping with these things. And so then I'd go home and I'd transcribe and I would learn. And then we'd drive. And when I say do whatever it takes or be the willingness, we would drive the 9 hours to Nashville. And we had already spent all the money that we had, right?
Mm.
And then, you spend the day at reunion and sometimes part of the next day, and then you drive the 9 hours home. But then there became a point in time that they started having training for lay people. And, and so I decided to go, not because I really had a plan to do this,
Right.
but because I wanted more of me. Like I said, this was like oxygen to me. I want more of me. And so I started showing up at those trainings. And then it was like, oh, okay, I'm doing the trainings. Well, now what I'm going to do? And I'm so thankful for Chip Dodd, Phil Herndon, Stephen James, because they were the people that said that I felt like the junior high kid at the high school table. Cause I didn't have any, most of the people that I was doing training with were all therapists. And I just kept showing up. I kind of felt like I'll keep showing up until they kick
Until
they kick me out, until they kick the junior high kid out, right?
Yeah.
And I just kept showing up and they kept helping me. And then I was trying to decide if I was doing this, and Chip told me, Steph, you can't help but go. You can't help but do the thing. And he was so right,
That's incredible.
And I think about those three guys and what they've poured into me and helped me along the way, never shamed me, and said, "Hey, we will be with you as you do this." And that's what's happened. That's how I'm here. And so much of the time is just do the next thing.
Yeah.
Do the next thing. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And so that's why I'm really passionate about helping people find who they are, and so that it naturally flows out of them so that they can get more enjoyment out of life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Incredible. Very purpose driven and fulfilling. And I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's more of the story, Lance.
That's good stuff. Yeah. That's a detail I want to ask, and I got to figure this out. When I first got married, I can tell you the furniture that we had, there's no way I'm sending it to an ozone tent. We're just getting rid of it. So yeah. Anyway, I took that as kind of joking, kind of funny that I would not have cleaned ours. Probably.
Well, I think,
kidding,
yes, but I think the thing is, we'd spent all our money on medical bills.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to find we're so freaking broke.
No, I know.
Right?
I'm putting oh yeah.
It's like we hit medical bills. We had, and then outside of, let's say outside of furniture, you have you have all your clothes.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
have everything that means anything that means anything to you.
Didn't think about that.
So then you have like memories, boxes of
And you got to put that
memories.
all in. Yeah.
Everything's got to go. Everything has got to go. And so, because even like the stuff that felt like on the outside of boxes or the outside of papers and things of that sort, just touching that stuff for me would make me
unbelievable.
Say, and I had no idea of like how bad it was, right? Like I was like, oh yeah, ozone chamber, simple, right? It's like, oh, here's $350 versus like thousands of dollars to get new furniture. Oh yeah, we'll just put an ozone chamber, no problem.
Right. Yeah, and there's no roadmap. You're figuring it out. You're just going, and you're young and don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that something to? Yeah. When you're going through it, it's just. It's just. Yeah. You're just going through it. You're trying to just get by, and then you can look back and be able to tell the story and I guess put it in perspective and all that. But it's just part of you. But at a time, it's all of you. It's in your husband. It's everything. It's consuming it.
Yeah, and it changes. It changes the trajectory.
It does.
Like there's events, and that's what I tell people about their own story. Is like look at the events that change your trajectory.
Not only, I'm sitting here thinking it's not only that, it's also perspective, and it's like you said, feelings, and just yes, there's things that you lose a job and you go do something else. Okay, that clearly you had to pivot or do something, but make a change. But everything it's all the other things that are happening too, maybe a subconscious. How are you feeling in that? And what are you thinking about that? And then let's go how you process it and what did you learn from that? And just all those things are going with you to whatever thing is next. Right. And it just continues to go.
Well, and the other thing that is important in that, and we touched on it just a little bit, is like most of the time crisis or hard stuff happens in the midst of life happening. Right. Yeah. So we talk about like a traumatic event in somebody's life, but so much of the time we talk about that in an isolated event. Right.
Exactly. Yep.
But we don't necessarily talk about it where it's like, oh, in the midst of life happening, raising kids, working a job, it's like, oh, you have this other traumatic event happen. And it's like, yeah, we're just literally surviving. And our brain's got a great way of being able to survive.
Yeah.
But then we have to go back and process.
That's right.
What we survived.
Yeah, we're still getting up, brushing teeth, and doing the laundry, and got to make dinner. What are we having for dinner, and what are we doing tomorrow? And that bill is due.
Yes,
life is still happening. You're right.
Yes,
if that's not enough, and then all the other.
Yeah. As life is crumbling, as things are being lost, as the market's crashing. Yeah. Or whatever it is, you're still having to get up and and do the thing.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot with some friends. We've got kids roughly the same age. I think we've got kids and, getting ready to launch and get on with maybe adult life and things like that. And we just talk about as parents, you want to protect them as much as you can. And, but at the same time, sometimes that pain can be those defining moments or things that can be part of your story and part of what makes you who you are in a good way. But as parents, you don't want to see them go through that or have that. What parent would sit here and say, I want something, quote, bad to happen to my, not one, right? But we were just talking, about that you hope that, whatever happens, that it can be safe enough and you're there for them. But again, not to want bad things to happen, but sometimes they do. And those can be a good thing from a character defining something,
in the long run. Right?
That's exactly right. Long run.
It's that place where, yes, a parent would do anything to keep their child out of
Absolutely.
pain,
Yes.
right? It's like, I don't want to see my kids suffer, even though that I know they will grow.
Right.
Most of the time they'll grow
Right.
in through hard stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
Now,
It's the hard. Yep.
you know, our role as a parent, and I'm super passionate about that, is to be with our kiddo through the pain. Like I think of one very not defining moment. It's a defining moment for me when I started learning to do parenting differently. And my daughter she was laying on the floor and she was in tears and I could not fix her situation. And I was sitting in a chair and I was looking down at her and I'm like, you get on the floor, like it mentally, you get down on the floor and you turn your face towards her and you just stay there with her. You cannot, you are powerless to change her situation, but you just lay on the floor, have your face turned towards her and allow the tears to run. And so that she can see that there is somebody that is with her in her pain. And so much of the time that as a parent is what we are called to do. Yes, we need to give them roots. Yes, we need to give them wings. Yes, we need to be present in their pain. And so much of the time we're not called to change their pain, but to be with them in it.
Yeah. I remember last time that's so powerful. I remember last time we got together, you had a quote. I loved it. It's not that the kid is, well, how did you say it? Kid is afraid of the dark. They're afraid of being alone in the dark.
Yes.
I just butchered the quote probably. But
no, you are spot on. The kiddo, we hear that they're afraid of the dark and it's like, no, if you went and sat with them in the dark, they're not afraid of the dark anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's like there's the other thing, when that I talk about a little bit, and you've probably heard me talk about this in a workshop or something like that, how this changed how I parented. Like I remember, my son was about 2 years old, he's 15 now. So we're talking a lot of years ago. And this is very new to me. And he was in bed and he was in his own bed and, good old classic Kansas thunderstorms going on, the ones that like shake the windows and like, really loud. Right?
Yeah.
That loudness and everything. And I'm in bed and I hear these little pitter patter feet come down the hall and, and, he comes and he wakes me up and I look over at him and you can see his big eyes and I'm telling him, it's like, it'll be okay. You can go back to bed. And I think the first time that I actually went back to his room with him, tucked him back in bed and got back in bed myself. And I told him it'd be okay. And then the next thing I know, it's that feeling, right? Where you can feel the eyes on you, right?
Right.
And I look open and my eyes are open. It's like, oh, he's looking, he's there again. He's looking at me. And now I'm getting a little bit edgier where it's like, it's going to be okay. Go back to bed. Right. Next time he comes and he's had this little Lightning McQueen couch and I folded the little couch out next to my bed. And I told him that he could lay down next to the bed, that he would be okay. And he laid down and next thing I know, he's back up again. And all of a sudden something clicked to me. And I looked at him and I said, are you scared? And he said, yes, I'm scared. And I looked at him and it's like, he's acknowledging his insides. I'm acknowledging his insides. And I said, I hear that you're scared and I'm here with you. It will be okay. And he laid down and he went to sleep. And when someone is able to admit their insides and you can be with them, it changes so much by doing something so very little. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, this is magical. Okay. Let's do this some more.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for being able to do that I'm going to assume in the middle of the night, because I'm about half awake and I'm like, get just So to have that, to be able to do that, wow.
Well, and it's only because I'd been through this.
Yeah,
it was pretty pretty recent after this, going through all this training that I'd been through, or been
sure,
and the awareness and had been brought to me. Otherwise, man, I would have just kept telling, and I would have ended up raging at him because I would have wanted to sleep, and I would have tell him to go to his room and not tell him when he could come out.
Yeah. Well, we did the same early on. All three kids, we put a sleeping bag on the floor next to our bed. They just learned to come in and not stare and look at. You just get in the sleeping bag. So they're in there with us. But yeah. I guess whatever parenting book we read, don't let them in bed with you, because then they, it's too comfortable, and then you'll never get them out. And so we wouldn't let them in bed, so we put a sleeping bag on the floor.
Because you're afraid at 17 your son would still be sleeping in the bed with you.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
I mean, exactly. Like, what was I worried about, as far as they're going to move out at some point. But I'm going to tell you, we three kids, we had, two of them, very active sleepers. One of them doesn't move. And so I'm not going to point them out, but I think they know who they are. But there's one that's, I'm good sleeping with that one when we go on a vacation, when we're in a hotel room and we get the same bed. I'm like, okay, cool. I know that one. We're good. But there's the other two might be horizontal kicking you in the middle of the night. So anyway.
Well, and that's the truth. And it's important for parents to get sleep.
Oh yeah.
Sleep builds capacity.
There you go.
Parents need capacity to deal with things in their own life and in their kiddos' life. So yes, it's important for parents to be able to get good rest too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you, I don't know if this is better than the Zoom, but I'd like to do
this is
sitting here with you. And we've covered a lot, and I know you have a clock that I think you've got a meeting that you've got to get to here in a little bit, but so I want to be respectful of that. And
this is go ahead.
What more? I mean, is there more that you want to say or convey to the listeners? Or we can have you back.
I was going to say, for today, it went a different direction than what I thought, which is fantastic. Like, I think that's, for me, I've started to learn to just trust the process. Like, if I try to over prepare for something, it becomes robotic.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, if I can just trust the process, and it's like, I think my hope for people is, to explore their story, to be able not to just know the data points, but some feelings that go with their story, and to share their story.
Yep.
It brings just like what I love that you're doing this, Lance, because you're drawing story out of other people. And I know that you've had someone that say like, man, nobody asked me these kind of questions. And it's like your ability to draw that out. And I know that you enjoy hearing the story, but it does them a lot of good to tell the story. And so I would encourage listeners to explore their story, the feelings that go with it, and to be willing to share it with somebody else.
Yeah, that well said. I mean, appreciate the kind words. Well said. And I think there's they talk about, just journaling. It can be very powerful, just writing something down. And I think, sharing your story with someone, if you can, I think you said it earlier today, that if you can find a good friend that will just sit with you and just listen, you're right. Just sharing your story. We've all got one. Ultimately, I want people to feel comfortable and good being who they are.
Yeah.
And you talked about value earlier, and just knowing they are valuable. And that sounds kind of weird saying that valuable. It sounds like a business thing, but
It's
you,
not weird though.
yeah, you are important, and it's important that you know that who you are. In other words, important being who you are. Don't try to be
Yes.
somebody else or something else. And I think for you to do that and we hear the word authentic, or authenticity, is knowing who you are allows you to be more of that and be comfortable with that. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
And sharing that with someone else gives them the maybe the ability to do that
yeah,
for, for someone else as well. And one other thing, if you or anyone else goes to share with a friend, tell that friend, like, I just want you to sit and listen, like, relax, sit, listen.
yeah,
I don't like, today I need you to listen. I don't need
yeah. I
advice.
don't want to
I don't
solve
want
it.
to, I
Yeah.
don't solve anything. I just, it'd be really helpful today if you just listen.
Nod your head and wave. Just
Uh-huh.
say,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, awesome. Well, thank you.
you're welcome, Lance.
I,
This was fun. We'll do it again.
yes, we're going to put it on the calendar. Thanks for,
Yeah.
again, being part of the build.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I think next time we're going to switch roles though.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Next time we're going to switch roles and I get to ask the questions and you get to tell the story.
Are you saying, are you saying you got to put your mouth where yeah, it's kind of
Put your
like
money where your mouth is.
yeah, you're interviewing and now you need to, sit on their side. I don't
think
know.
my hope is like you talk about everybody has a story and you're doing this podcast and
Yeah.
people get little snippets of you, but it's like, hey, I also want you to have the opportunity just to be able to
Yeah,
share
now you're scaring me.
and your listener and the listeners to be able to know you more too.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So,
All right.
all right.
What part of your story might be shaping who you're becoming, even if you haven't fully named it yet? This is the Fort Builders. Thanks for being part of the build.